Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Rays Rewind with Bell, Bushman, and Drew.
Jansen. That is into center field. Here comes Kiermaier. Phillips has tied the game. Arose Arena coming around. Throw home. Now he stumbles. But the ball gets away. Tampa Bay wins it. Brett Phillips, Game 4 hero.
The sickest Tampa Bay Rays podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Welcome, everybody, to the Rays Rewind podcast, the sickest Tampa Bay Rays podcast on the Sick Media Network. Make sure to go to our YouTube page at the Sick Podcast, Rays Rewind. Hit that subscribe and notification bell when new episodes drop. I am the Great Al Bushman. As usual, is my co-host, Drew. Welcome in, everybody. Yay, more of the same. The Rays play inconsistent baseball on the road trip for the rivalry weekend, which I don't think the Rays have really had a rivalry with the Marlins because there just really hasn't been one. The rivalry, we've had rivalries against the Red Sox and the Yankees, but I don't think you can call a rivalry against the Marlins as a thing. Sorry, MLB. Let's not market that. Let's not do that ever again. So
it's very much just like an in-state.
Yeah,
Like,
I think they've called it the Sunshine Series, which is cool. That's fine, but don't call it like a rivalry.
I have never once felt angst towards the Marlins or the Marlin fan base like I do with half the teams in the American League or even, a few other National League teams. So I am not I couldn't care less about the Marlins.
Yeah. And most of the time, and I've never come across Marlins fans that are like jerks or a-holes or anything like that. They're usually pretty cool people. They're not like an obnoxious fan base. So I can't get mad at them. And I wouldn't want to because they're just the Marlins and they've won 2 championships and we haven't won any. So it's, and they play in the National League.
Their new city Connect jerseys are pretty cool too. I'll give them that.
I don't like the hats. I don't
remember what the hats look like. I just like the jerseys.
The hats have the 305 on it.
Oh yeah,
those
are.
Colors, yeah,
I thought that was just the helmet. Mm-mm. Yeah, the color scheme. I like the color scheme. It's like a Miami Vice type thing, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, and I know. I mean, I fully expected the Rays to win that series, but the Marlins, they got some nice players. Honestly, with the Baltimore, with their struggles this year, looking at those guys, like that trade they made with the Marlins last year to get Trevor Rogers from the Marlins, and they sent Kyle Stowers and Connor Norby. I mean, Norby's stats aren't nearly as good as what Kyle Stowers is doing, but they're both super nice. Kyle Stowers he's a good player, and they look like they got he could be a guy that anchors their lineup for a while. And knowing how bad the Orioles have been this year, and I know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can we mention that real quick? Like, how much of a fall? And I think we kind of predicted this, you and I, the latter half of that. I think we both kind of came to the conclusion like the Orioles wouldn't be as good as advertised from like last year, because last year and the year before they were contenders for playoffs and maybe going deep into the playoffs and whatnot. But this year has been such a 180 of a decline that it's almost as if they're back to form. Like the Orioles are back to form now. Like they had made no investment in pitching last year and the year before last, where that was like their biggest need. And it's just, they've already fired their manager, who was the manager of the year a couple of years ago, and now he's out of the league. Well, he's out of the job, and just kind of a free fall. Like, man, the Orioles are just.
It's the biggest story in baseball right now, I think.
Yeah.
You looked at the rotation this year, and you're like, there's just no way that they're going to be any good. Or they're not going to be. That's not a playoff caliber team, given that rotation. Because, and we saw this last year with the Rays. When Zach Eflin is your ace, quote unquote, going into a season, that is not a recipe for success.
Hey Zach, how does it feel to be on the Orioles now?
Yeah, he is a great middle of the rotation guy to have, where he's a great veteran to have in the clubhouse at this point. And he was great for the Rays clubhouse, and he was great as a Rays 2 or 3 pitcher, but when he's the guy that you're calling on to lead a rotation, it's not a good foundation. And I get like they have injuries, like Grayson Rodriguez is hurt. And they had some, Gunnar was out for a while to start the year, and like they've had other guys hurt. Colton Cowser and Jordan Westberg are out. Like this is not the
And
full
they
team.
overpaid for Charlie Morton, and Charlie Morton's doing terrible. He's got
Yeah,
an ERA of 5. Like they just,
I think they just really it's really a front office issue, and that's why Brandon Hyde getting fired. It's like you got to do something, but I think everybody agrees that like he's not the reason why they're this bad right now, and I don't think they're this bad. It's just things are going so poorly for them that they are in a free for all. But you know the front office really is to blame. I mean, they got so much praise, and for tanking, and it's one thing to tank, but then when you tank like the Astros did, or like the Orioles did for these last few years, where they tank and then they hit on all their picks, you got to give credit to the front office for making great selections, because just because you tank doesn't mean, and you get these high picks, doesn't mean you're gonna, get nowadays it doesn't mean you're going to get the top pick, but also it doesn't mean you're going to get a superstar or a really
right.
great player out of those, i.e. Tim Beckham. But they hit on a bunch of their picks, and there was a moment in time where it was like, man, this team, they're going to, for a long time, it felt like, okay, well, we just have to think about the Yankees and Red Sox, and the Blue Jays had a couple of years, but
Yeah,
now the Orioles are going to be,
that's what it
the
was,
team to
because
beat.
once they got Gunnar and Jackson Holiday up, it's like, okay, man,
And Adley was like this stabilizing, like as soon as he came up, he debuted against the Rays, and as soon as he came up, it was like the whole vibe changed. And you're like, man, this team is going to be sweet. And I saw him in person in 2023 when that last road series against them, where it wasn't that it essentially decided the division. The Rays won the first two and lost the last two, and it kind of cemented Rays finishing second in the division. I mean, it was a problem. I mean, it was crazy at that stadium. I mean, the fans were nuts, and you were like, "This is the beginning of something really bad for the Rays." With terms of the Orioles taking this huge step up, and they went out and got Corbin Burns, and you knew he was one and done, but like maybe they could get him back. The front office really, I think, made some big missteps over the last year, where, yeah, Corbin Burns was great and he was the ace they needed, but like knowing he was just a yearly guy, 1 year guy, and probably wanting to go back to the West Coast, you wonder if there was a better option for him. And then like the Trevor Rogers deal was terrible. I mean, even at the time it looked bad. And they were just hoping to catch lightning in a bottle with him, and he's done nothing for them. And it looks like, based
Dude,
on
they're
this
definitely
year,
going to be fielding calls at the trade deadline with that team.
yeah, based on this year, like
Yeah.
they gave away the two prospects out of all their prospects that they have. They potentially gave away the two most productive options. Colton Cowser and Jordan Westbrook obviously are still, productive. They're hurt right now, but like Heston Kjerstad and Kobe Mayo, like they're not really doing anything. So it could that those moves they made, and the lack of moves this offseason where they didn't go out after they missed on Burns, and who knows what trades they were looking at. Maybe they were looking at like a Garrett Crochet. I don't know. But, the fact that they didn't get that ace pitcher, and we're really banking on some like older veterans, and the Japanese pitcher, I can't think of his name at the moment. Like, I don't know, man. I mean, I know they got those young players in the lineup that are still sticking around for a while, but you start and like the new ownership was supposed to go out and spend, and they just haven't. It's like very, very strange.
Very Stu-esque.
And and I'd be ticked.
Do you know how bad
I was an
it's?
Orioles
You know
fan.
how bad it is with us. We don't even want to talk about the Rays. That's how bad it is for us. We're just kind of tired of
I
talking
know
about it because it's
more
more of the
interesting,
same.
more interesting topics at the moment. But yeah,
Yeah.
I
would say
let's talk about this race.
before we get into it, I do want to say I think it is kind of a melancholy. Well, not melancholy. I think it's a congratulations and kind of a cool moment that Evan Longoria is going to come back and retire on June 7th as a Ray. Too bad it's not going to be at Tropicana Field where all the memories that happened for him, but he's going to be doing it as a Ray. I am going to try and go to that game. Ticket prices are outrageous right now, but
Oh, are they?
yeah,
Dang, it stinks that it's tough to like. How lucky would it be if like you had tickets already to the game,
Yeah.
before that was announced, and
Oh, dude.
you could probably
But
make some money off that.
but I mean, it is cool. He's going to retire as a Ray. 39 years old. I mean, it's a
Crazy.
career. He had so many great moments with the Rays and beyond that. So, I think him retiring as a Ray,
See,
it's a cool thing. So,
see your favorite,
congratulations to him.
see your favorite player ever. You think, or
You
what would you?
know,
Where'd you put him in terms of your guys you've
my
enjoyed
Rays
watching,
Hall of Fame.
or
Yeah,
well, not the best player, but just like guys you've enjoyed watching the most. Like, hey, I want to watch this guy play. I mean, where's he ranked for you? Is he like number one or?
that's kind of funny because somebody asked me that yesterday, and my answer was, well, the Rays trade all their players every single year, though, so it's kind of hard to invest in like a favorite one. And I think I would put him at the top, not because my first name is also Evan, but I think with moments with him and just the way that he became like the face of the franchise for such a long time, I would definitely put him at the top. For me, I mean, I'm sure he's at the top for a lot of other people, but yeah, he's
Yeah.
he's definitely number one on my all-time favorite Rays. So yeah, I would say he's number one.
Yeah, you know, as far as favorite Rays go, I would probably put him two behind Kevin Kiermaier.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I loved Kevin Kiermaier. He
I
was
Kiermaier
I,
was
I
good.
saw
I
some.
liked Kevin, but like it's just the bat, man. He
I
just
mean,
couldn't do it for me. You know?
yeah, I will say Kevin Kiermaier though, I would actually going to look this up. His playoff numbers, that's the thing is, he would get criticized in the season, like, similar to like guys like Brandon Lau, right? Like doesn't his just inconsistent or streaky or like, or excuse me, like a Taylor Walls, right? He's never been as bad as Taylor Walls, but before Taylor Walls was a thing, right? Kevin Kiermaier was the receiver of those criticisms of he's all defense, but if he could just do just anything at the plate, and I get like he wasn't this all worldly hitter, but the man, just thinking back, like anecdotally, I don't have the numbers in front of me. I'm looking at him now, but like I feel like he just always came through in the playoffs. Like he always showed up. I mean, I can think off the bat right now of three two or three big home runs, two or three big plays in the playoffs, not to mention the fielding plays he made. Yeah, postseason batting. Okay, not as good as I thought. It's
Mhm.
224 overall, four homers, 224 average. 7101 OPS. I digress about that. However, given the defensive highlights, right, the energy he brought, and I mean, I'm a little biased. I saw his walk-off homer against the Red Sox in 2022, I think it was. His first ever walk-off homer, right? I got to see that in person. I was in person for his 2019 homer against the Astros in Game 3. Probably the loudest I've ever heard the Tropicana Field in my life. And one of the cooler moments I got to see in person. Um, like the 2021 ALDS when he not only had the big hit, he had the big hit against the Red Sox. I think that was the play that Renfro kicked the ball over. I think he had the hit for that. I can't remember, but
I think you might be right. Yeah.
then like he threw the throw he made to third from like the warning track at Fenway to get the guy out at third late in the I believe game 4. I don't know, man. He was so much fun to watch. So like I probably would say he was my favorite.
Hmm.
But obviously Evan Longoria is like, you can't
I think
like
Evans
he
got
is
more. Evans got more of the moments.
he's got the biggest moment,
Yeah.
with
Two big
game
moments, like
60,
two of the
162.
yeah, two of the big moments. So yeah, I
So
definitely put him
he's
at the top. So I
unquestioned like number one Ray ever.
yeah.
There's no doubt. I am a little surprised they're doing it. And I get like if he wants to retire and just go ahead and make it official, like there's repercussions to like the timing, right? Because he wouldn't be eligible for the Hall of Fame until 5 years after. So like if you wait a whole nother season for the Rays to be at Tropicana, I get like maybe they didn't want to wait and he doesn't want to wait, so they wanted to go ahead and do it. I'm just a little surprised that they're doing it at Steinbrenner. I know
I'm
that they're not doing the Hall of Fame ceremony stuff for the Rays, but
I'm sure that he doesn't want to wait just because he's probably like, I don't even know what they're doing. Like, where's this team going to be? Like, where are they going to be next year? So that's probably why he's not. That's probably why he's just like, you know what? Let's just do it now instead of like waiting another year when, because he didn't play last year. He's not playing this year, so he might as well just do it just to get out of the way.
He must have really thought there was still an opportunity, or maybe he just wasn't sure what he wanted to do yet. But I'm surprised he didn't retire last year. Was it last offseason where he tried to get it was kind of reported he wanted to come back to Tampa for one season, I think, and after his time with the Diamondbacks was over, he wanted to come back. I think there was a rumor
for a while like they were going to bring him back in some capacity just to be there, but then it just kind of
it was just like he is the one position and the type of player they just had no need to add another one of. Like they had Isak, they had plenty of right-handed, DH third base guys, and they didn't need another guy that you got Junior waiting at that time in AAA. So real quick, I know why I was in my mind I had Kevin Kiermaier as a big playoff guy. It's because in the World Series he hit 368 with a 1137 OPS and had 2 homers in the World Series. I think that's what sticks out to me about him in the playoffs, was that in the biggest series of his career, right? In the biggest series for the Rays in the last.
I would put KK for me
years.
he would be in the top 5 because I would say for me it's Longoria, Crawford, Shields, Pena, David Price, like that core group that was on that team. So
well, when did you become a Rays fan?
The beginning.
Beginning. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I was 7 when they had their first season, and I really didn't start following the Rays until 07. Because we were big Braves fans growing up. We watched them on TBS.
Yeah, so was I. I was a Braves fan
until that's what we watched.
Yeah, well, it was the only thing on that you
Chipper,
could watch.
Andrew, all those guys. And then as they started getting off TBS, we started watching more Rays baseball. And then that coincided with 07, 08, and the new team and Evan coming up. And so Evan was like the first guy I really locked on.
I think
for the Rays.
For me, I going from the early days of the Devil Rays days.
I got a couple years of Carl Crawford, but
yeah. Scott Kazmir was one of those guys in the early days. I mean, if you go way back in the early days when the team came up, I mean, you got your Doug Weckners of the world. You got, I mean, when they brought over Wade Boggs and Jose Canseco and Fred McGriff, yeah, I mean, they just brought those guys in just to have some stars on the team. But yeah, I think once they were getting to transition over to the Rays team itself, I mean, you had those guys that were there. I mean, Scott Kazmir. Well, Scott Kazmir was one of those guys that, man, great pitcher. What could have been if he would have stayed healthy? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Yeah. He was him and Matt Moore.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Matt Moore. I mean, even Josh Hamilton when Josh Hamilton was on the team. What could have been?
I was a big Will Myers guy too, man.
Yeah.
I was all about Will Myers. That whole like the 2010s was like I was locked in.
Yeah.
So a lot of my guys are from that era, and obviously now, but yeah. So like the 2000s, I caught the tail end, obviously, with the last few years of that. But
switching gears, we don't want to air our grievances out like we have in past shows because it just seems what we're doing every single show's grievances. So they come back from the road series. They've got, I think, the next 15 out of the 19 are at home against good teams. Boz was not sharp.
We're going to lose 15 of 19.
Boz was not sharp yesterday. Another bad start for him. And then they dropped the series against the Marlins. We're going to go past that. I have asked ChatGPT to go over some possible trades that could make the Rays better. One trade scenario is they could trade Zach Littell for offensive reinforcements. I don't agree with that. What do you think?
Oh man, Zach Littell could win a Cy Young, and I would never be excited about watching him pitch. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's that he came in with just absolutely no pedigree, and seemingly has just stuck around being, I mean, to his credit, like a valuable pitcher for the team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is. Like I'm never excited about his starts. So, and I'm grateful he's pitched well in moments, but I think it's more just about him being the obvious guy. Like he's just not somebody that you feel like the Rays are going to keep around long term. And his ceiling is not nearly as high as any of the other pitchers in the rotation. But he's still giving you as much present day value as anybody in the rotation.
Right.
And his salary is, I believe, uh, was they signed his arbitration, right? I'm just looking at his, yeah, he's making, do you know what he's making this year without looking?
I don't. How much?
5.7 million.
That much?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, and he's a free agent next year. So I think
They'll probably deal him away. I don't think it's going to be for much.
he was making 1.8 last year.
Mm.
And then he, yeah, jumped all the way up to five during, to avoid arbitration. So obviously he was potentially going to get even more in arbitration. Yeah. So with him being a free agent next year and the Rays, I would be shocked for them to sign him to like any sort of 2 to 3 year deal. It just feels like one of those guys. It's like, all right, they've been able to get value out of him over the last couple seasons and kind of make him into this serviceable pitcher that has a decent amount, a decent amount of value. Not like they're going to get a huge return for him, but it almost feels like the other shoe's going to drop at some point, and you want the Rays to get him out the door before that
Mm-hmm.
happens. So we'll see what happens. I just think ChatGPT suggests that because he's just the most obvious candidate of the bunch.
Right.
Now, what they're getting, I can't imagine they're going to get any sort of major league talent for Zach Littell. Like now, major league ready talent now.
Right. Okay. Here is a scenario that they came up with. Now, we just got
Okay.
him in a trade last year. Is explore options for Christopher Morel.
Yeah. Okay. Um, I if you trade him now, you're trading him when he has absolutely zero value, or I wouldn't say zero. I think he's young enough and has shown enough power over a course of multiple seasons that some teams would still give him a chance. To be honest with you, it is. I'm not. I feel like the issue for me is I think he already, like, even at his best, he's going to be a guy that strikes out a lot. He's going to be a lower average guy. He's going to hit for power at his best, and he's going to be a fun, big energy guy. So I don't think that changes no matter anywhere he goes. However, I've always felt that he was a big market guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it seems like he gets along great with the clubhouse. And it seems like he's a great part of the clubhouse. He's one of the, this is stuff I pay attention to. Like, he's always one of the first guys, I think, cheering guys on when they get back to the dugout after a big hit or a home run, or like he's always out there on the field, like with Junior celebrating, like, and that's important. Like that kind of stuff, those little things, I think, is important. But just given like the market he came from, being the Chicago Cubs, I just don't. I don't know. I've just always felt like he's one of those guys that really thrives off a big market and the energy from the crowd and like that kind of vibe that you would get at a Wrigley Field or one of those bigger market teams that, like, honestly, like we just don't get that here. Um, so I just don't know if it's going to work here. The issue, I actually thought, he isn't playing.
Right.
Now they played against a bunch of righties this week, all righty starters. So, but at the beginning of the season, right? I mean, he was starting against righties, starting against lefties. It didn't matter. Obviously, they've got some better left-handed options right now with Meisner. He struggled some, but he's had a couple moments this week, and then Josh Lowe being back, Chandler Simpson. So I get it, but I mean, he's not playing much right now. Now he'll play tonight against a lefty, but you almost wonder if they're not going to be willing to play him frequently. Is he a guy they do try to move, or potentially DFA? Like I don't know. I mean, it's tough.
It
I don't know what the
the
right move is with
the
him.
race. I think for me, they're in a spot because there's so many guys on the team right now that don't really have value. I mean,
Mhm.
you have your core right now that do, and you're not going to give those up unless you're getting like Paul Skeens or Otani or whatever. But the guys that you could deal away, I think as of right now, they don't have much value. Um, Here's the trade scenario they came up with. The Rays receive Mitch Hanger from the Seattle Mariners, and the Mariners would receive Curtis Mead and Hunter Bigby.
Oh, Curtis Mead.
Yeah. No,
Man,
no.
if they got rid of Morel and Biggie, that would be the ultimate, like, hey, we really screwed up the Esoc Rays, right?
Right. Now
Um,
remember, folks, this is from ChatGPT. This is not from us. So
yeah. Mitch Haniger, I think, is doing absolutely nothing.
he's not.
He's not even. What is he even on the team right now?
I have no idea. That's why ChatGPT is so weird right now. I think he still is
He
on there.
doesn't have any. He doesn't have any stats for the Mariners this year.
So I don't think he's on the team
Oh
anymore.
no, they released
Oh,
him.
they released him. ChatGPT,
Yeah,
I hate you.
yeah, they released him. Well, and he hasn't been picked up by anybody, so I think that tells you what his market is. Yeah, I mean, I think not saying for Mitch Haniger, but I think the idea to get rid of. I don't think they're going to get rid of Biggie. I think he's actually been pretty. I think a decent addition to the bullpen. He's not shown to be like one of those top end guys yet, but I think based on some of the options we've seen in the back end so far this year, like Mason Englert and a couple other guys, Cole Susser. I think Hunter Biggie. I think a lot of Rays fans feel like I'd much rather have Hunter Biggie in the back of the bullpen. So I don't agree with that part of it. I think Curtis Mead again. He's got an option left. So unless you're able to get something close to major league ready for him right now with a team that's willing to give Curtis Mead essentially the starting third base job for regular at bats, like I think they probably would just opt to send him down to AAA again. And we know that there's been a lot of talk about him not getting regular at bats, but like personally, I just think that he's going to have to be something that is just going to have to get sent down again. Like again, too, like he didn't play at all this week. Even when they gave Junior Caminero a day off Saturday, I feel like every time they've given Junior a day off, even against a righty, they've put Curtis Mead in his place, and they did not do that this week. So I don't know what their plan is. I I don't know how realistic this is, but given that the Dodgers just released Chris Taylor, and that means that whatever team signs Chris Taylor doesn't have to pay his salary, which is like it was like a 4-year, $60 million deal that he signed a few years back. That they only have to pay a prorated minimum salary for Chris Taylor. I personally think like a guy like Chris Taylor, I get that his stats this year, he's only hitting like 200. I don't even know if he has a home run, but like he's proven it in the big leagues. And he's a lefty guy you can throw against a lefty. As he's a right-handed bat, but like he can play, multiple infield positions, kind of like a Jose Caballero can play outfield now as well. Like to me, I'd almost rather give that guy, someone like that, a chance and send Mead back down and put him in Mead's place. Because to me, Chris Taylor's a guy, veteran guy, probably seems like a raisy guy, right? Can play multiple positions, but I think something that I've seen with Travis Jankowski that I think could also be something with Chris Taylor is that these are guys that are comfortable playing every once in a while, right?
Yeah.
I think we're seeing with Curtis Mead, I know he played a lot in spring training, had that great average, even though he didn't hit for a ton of power. Like, I think he's still learning. Like right now, he is not playing hardly at all. It's certainly like once, maybe twice a week, and like he's not adjusting well to that. Well, you get some of these veteran guys in there, like a Travis Jankowski, who said in his post game, like, "Hey, for like the last 6 years, he's been a fourth outfielder, so like he knows that role and knows how to play it comfortably. He can come in there and give you a good veteran at bat or two, or play a game once or twice a week and give you a really good outing." Whereas these younger guys, I think it can kind of mess up their development or mess up their growth, and like they struggle. And so you bring in a guy like Chris Taylor. Personally, for me, like I think he would be much better suited for the role that Curtis Mead is playing right now for this team. And who knows, maybe he could give a little bit more leadership, to some of the younger guys like a Junior Caminero and others. So that's kind of something I would love to see. Again, only because they released him and the Rays wouldn't have to pay his salary. I think it's something that could make it possible. But um, yeah, man, I don't know. Again, we're in that same situation last year. It's like outside of some of the like even more so this year. Like I don't think there's like an obvious move to fix it. It's just like they just got to play better. They got to pitch
Yeah.
better. They gotta actually go out and do it. And because I think there's not a solution out there. It's like an obvious, like this is going to make our team better. I think you can probably try and throw a couple different solutions out there in combinations and hope that it works. Doesn't mean you shouldn't try that. It's just that there is not an obvious player out there right now in the farm system or whatever, that like free agency that they can go out and be like, oh, this is going to make the team better without a doubt.
I don't see them being quite as active as they were last year when it comes to the trade deadline. Just because of the active roster right now and just where the state of the team is. Now, I know we're in the middle of May and trade deadline's not for another couple of months, but I mean, I've been reading the message boards and reading like all the comments. It's like everybody's kind of like in the same agreement we are. It's like it's more of the same of last year, more of the same,
Mhm.
more of the same, more of the same. But I think with the value that they have with the current rosters, I think if they try and go out and make a bunch of moves and sell a bunch of guys, I think that would be the stupidest thing, because that's almost like saying you're doing another. Not that I'm saying last year was a fire sale at all, but then you're going to be kind of doing it again this year. But there isn't really much of there's not much of a market with the current guys that they have that are going to be available, because there just isn't. So
And that can change between now and the
I don't
trade
know. I
deadline.
don't know.
But
I don't think it will, Drew. I think they maybe make one or two, but they're not gonna be as active as they were last year. I think they're gonna be probably quite quiet. And I think we're revisiting the conversation that we had a few weeks ago about, is this team a 500 team? Yeah. I think they're going to be right where they're at the end of the season again, but they're going to be under 500 or maybe at 500 where they were last year, because it's just more of, not as bad as last year, but it's more of the same as last year. And that's kind of I'm almost checked out, man. I'm almost to the point where I'm like, hey, football's right around the corner. Fantasy football's right around the corner. Like, if I don't see much of an improvement in the next couple of weeks, it's like, why should I invest? If we're just going to be at where we were last year and we're kind of the same as last year. I have to look up where we were last year at this point.
yeah, well, I know they had that winning streak in May against
Yeah.
let's see. Yeah, because I looked back at that before or at an earlier point in the season. What's today, the 19th?
Yeah.
We were actually 2 games over 500.
Okay. So we're doing worse than we were last year.
Yeah, they had it was like they had that terrible week at the end of April, beginning of May against Chicago, Milwaukee, and then they went on this winning streak with the City Connects. Couple losses against the Yankees, but then they won a bunch of games against the Red Sox. But then here you go. They were 25 and 22 on the 18th of May. Then they lost 6 games in a row.
Okay, so we're a little bit better than last year, but not by much.
Well, yeah. If depending on, let's see where we're at the end of this week, because it could be either right at the same or close to, or just a little better or a little worse. Yeah, man. I mean, we said this too. Like it's the same stuff from last year. I think the pitching's been a little more disappointing this year. I don't remember the stats off the top of my head. I know the bullpen struggled a bunch last year early on and got their act together in the second half, but like I don't remember the starting staff being this disappointing. They're not striking out guys this year. Like the last several turns of the rotation, I feel like the strikeout numbers have been really low, even for guys with higher strikeout potential, right? Taj and Shane. Um, Drew is really the only pitcher you feel like is giving you consistent performances. Ryan Pepio's done pretty well too. I know he gave up that 1 3-run homer against the Blue Jays that kind of sunk him, but like he's been pretty consistent in the last few starts. Like I just don't feel like guys like Shane Baz and Taj Bradley are hitting their potential right now. They've been pretty disappointing. So it really comes down to like, we could talk about the offense, and obviously that's a problem, but like if the pitching is not, if they're giving up a few homers a game and just not doing their job, it's going to be really, really hard for this team to be successful. And
I think they need to shake it up. I mean, Joe Boyle's just kind of waiting in Durham.
They've got Joe Boyle and Ian Seymour, and
they can bring these guys up.
And Shane, obviously, McClanahan, him coming back, hopefully, whenever that will be, like that'll be a big boost. But I don't know, man. I don't know what if you're going to benefit anybody by sending Shane Baz or Taj Bradley down right now. I mean, I think they've shown this year they can get it done, and they're obviously in kind of a rough stretch.
No, I think sending them down at this point would be kind of counterintuitive. I think you leave them up and you try. I mean, a couple bad starts is a couple bad starts.
Yeah,
but
I think Zach Littell you could see Zach Littell having the same fate as Zach Eflin last year.
Probably
where they jump the market and just go ahead and trade him early in June, especially if he keeps it up to create a spot. But
at this point, whatever.
I mean, looking at the next, you mentioned the homestand, like they play Houston, then Toronto comes back in, and then they play Minnesota. I mean, they have their absolute arch nemesis coming in tonight, a rookie lefty starter that's from the St. Pete area. This is a recipe for like
disaster.
A ton of traffic on the base, but absolutely no runs scored for the Rays, and he shuts them down through 6. So they've got a tough stretch here against teams that they struggle with. They've got 2 series against Houston in the next 2 weeks, and they also welcome the Rangers into town at the beginning of June. So like I'm looking, between now and June 9th, when they go back on the road for an extended road trip. And we're going to be, I think it's going to be these next few weeks that kind of determine the course of action for this team over the next 3 months. But hey, no reason why they can't go out and win tonight. Like, they gotta at some point, like they gotta play better at home. Some of the guys, they do hit better at home. Junior, Yandy. They've got.
Yeah, but they don't win at home. That's the only thing. They hit better at home. They don't win at home.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's I'm hoping for a W tonight against the Astros. Let's just get it started off. Like I'm choosing not to be pessimistic going in. I'm sure they'll break my heart though.
All right. Well, thanks guys for joining in for another episode of the Rays Rewind podcast. Hopefully they'll win tonight and we won't have to air our grievances on the next show. Make sure to go to our YouTube page at the Sick Podcast Rays Rewind for the Rays Rewind podcast, the sickest Tampa Bay Rays podcast on the Sick Media Network. For myself and Drew, we'll see you guys later. Peace.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Rays Rewind with L. Bushman and Drew on YouTube, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.